Hello everyone and welcome back to Creation Myths. In this video, I'm going to briefly cover a recent video from the Old Earth Ministry, Reasons to Believe, in which they spread some really standard transphobic propaganda, and that made me sad and angry when I saw it. I was really disappointed to see this, because I generally think of Reasons to Believe as a level above your typical Young Earth ministry like Institute for Creation Research or Answers in Genesis. Now, in large part, that's because they're Old Earth rather than Young Earth, which means right off the bat, they're just going to be better at everything science-y that they put out, but also because I didn't think they were going into the culture war thing like Answers in Genesis. And if you've been following Answers in Genesis for the last couple of years, you know they've gone all in on culture war. The science is, a side project at this point. So I'm going to do a quick rundown of the misinformation that's being spread in this video from Reasons to Believe. Before I do that, I'm going to mention 2 episodes of the excellent Maintenance Phase podcast, because in that show, they covered this topic in detail. They did one episode on so-called rapid onset gender dysphoria, which is not a real phenomenon, and one on the anti-trans Cass report, which is just garbage if you actually dig into it. So check out those episodes, linked down below. You're going to get a lot more complete information than you're going to get here because, again, this is just a really quick rundown of this one video. I'm not going to go into tons of detail. I've also linked some other resources down below, so check those out as well. So this video is about 15 minutes long, and we're not going to even bother going through clips. I'm just going to go through and tell you just the various misrepresentations that are being disseminated by Reasons to Believe in this interview. If you want to watch the 15 minutes, it's very short. You could double check me. But I'm not misrepresenting anything in this video here. We're just going through it beat by beat, and I'm going to tell you what they're saying and why it's wrong. So first thing, right off the bat at one point, they talk about the gender a person wants to be as though any of these things are a choice that the person is consciously making rather than like a medical diagnosis. They say that gender-affirming care is done with little evaluation, that's the phrase, and they contrast this with older treatment approaches such as talk therapy. And to be clear, therapy is still part of any gender dysphoria treatment. They, in this video, spread the lie that detransitioning is widespread. Now, they don't give a specific number, they don't say like, 90% of whatever, but they say this is a common thing that happens. The truth is that gender-affirming care has the lowest regret rate of practically any medical intervention. Like, people regret taking antibiotics more than they regret gender-affirming care. People regret getting knee replacements more than they regret gender-affirming care. They also say that trans people imagine themselves to be their perceived gender. So right off the bat, the position in this interview is that gender dysphoria is not like a legitimate condition, right? They portray surgical interventions as way more common than they actually are. In reality, it's exceptionally rare to have a surgical intervention on a minor for gender dysphoria. Like, we're talking low triple digits per year in the United States. And the vast majority of those are breast reductions in cis males. For example, out of 151 such surgeries in 2019, all but 4 were performed on cisgender males. In other words, this is a made-up problem. There's no rapid onset gender dysphoria. There's no rushing kids through treatment protocols to getting irreversible surgery, without their parents even knowing what's going on. To portray it that way is just dishonest, right? They also, in talking about what the word gender-affirming care even means, they represent these treatments from puberty blockers to surgery as parents and doctors basically rubber stamping what the child wants. The reality is that it's all done in concert with parents and doctors, the people who are in the best position to evaluate medical interventions for the minor. And they also parrot very specifically the rapid onset gender dysphoria myth, which again, this is fake, this is dishonest. It takes years to go from therapy to puberty blockers to hormone replacement therapy. never mind any kind of surgical intervention, which, again, is incredibly rare. Towards the end, they really start to get into the just obvious nonsense and lies. So at one point, one of the people being interviewed basically represents they're transing your kids thing. It's just pure fear-mongering, talking about finding, quote, the right kind of counselor who isn't going to immediately put your kid in transition, unquote. They even go one step further and do it's caused by social media, it's a social contagion thing. It's just like the most lazy, repetitive lies about this. It's just transphobic fear-mongering, nothing more. And I'm extremely disappointed to see this coming from Reasons to Believe. I really thought RTB might be better than this. Reasons to Believe is run by Dr. Fuzz Rana, who I've had on this channel. We had a great conversation, and from everything I've seen of him, he's a nice guy. But he hosts this video. He's hosting the interview. So, what are we doing here, Reasons to Believe? This is nonsense. It's lazy. It's lies. These are not true things that are being conveyed in this video. So, Reasons to Believe, please be better than the hacks at Answers in Genesis. And everyone else, remember, this is transphobic propaganda. This is lies. This is misinformation. Nothing more. And again, you can see down below for some resources that explain in detail how and why that's the case. Thank you all for watching. See you next time. Don't get fooled.